The beautiful party island of Koh Phangan, Thailand is known for its famous full moon beach parties that attract thousands of tourists each month. However, in 2023, it caught people's attention for a completely different and sinister crime that took place. On August 3rd, 2023, around 6 a.m., the early morning tranquility was disrupted when a startling scream pierced the silence. A female worker at the local garbage dumping site, the Koh Phangan Waste Disposal Center, had stumbled upon a horrifying sight. Amidst the heaps of discarded party remnants, she discovered human remains in a bag. Shaken, she immediately notified her manager. These garbage collectors, mostly low-income Burmese immigrants, sifted through the refuse daily, hoping to find valuable treasures discarded by society, tourists, and partygoers, items they could exchange for cash. What initially appeared to be discarded meat turned out to be a human hip. The manager promptly contacted the police. Within the hour, a swarm of police and media descended upon the site. The discovered remains included hips, forearms, legs, intestines, and male private parts, all left in the Koh Phangan garbage dump. Upon initial investigation, it was determined that the man had passed away less than 48 hours ago, as indicated by the rigor mortis setting in. Additionally, the degree of decomposition suggested the fresh phase, where the body still appears relatively intact but has started showing early signs of decay. The remains were those of a Caucasian man, leading the police to suspect he was likely a tourist visiting the island for the renowned full moon parties. Finding a dead foreigner in a city and country so heavily reliant on tourism is bad press, and they wanted to determine what caused this and solve the crime immediately. They wondered if they could locate the area or location this particular garbage came from that morning. The manager of the dumping site informed them that every morning garbage from the entire Koh Phangan came to this site. This was a dead end, the final stop. Facing a dead end but undeterred, the police waited for forensic analysis and a DNA profile to establish who this person might be. They also scrutinized missing persons reports that might point them in the right direction to solving this mystery. Before we continue, don't miss the conclusion. There is an unexpected motivation for this crime that was only known to the close friends of the victim. And if you're fascinated by well-researched true crime in storytelling format, then be sure to like this video and subscribe to Crimes Anatomy for more intense cases from around the world. Hit the notification bell so you're always in the loop. Let's go. The next day, at the same landfill, a plastic bag was found containing a bloody t-shirt, shorts, underpants, and a receipt for purchases at a supermarket called Big C. Their unexpected break arrived on the same day when a foreign tourist walked into the island's police station to report his friend missing. He said his friend, Edwin Arrieta, a 44-year-old Colombian national and plastic surgeon, had been out of touch for a few days. The officers, well aware of the ongoing investigation, looked at each other as if they knew what the other was thinking. Was this just a coincidence? Or could the body parts found at the dump belong to this missing person? As the man providing information on the missing persons report identified himself, it became clear that this was no ordinary case. Daniel Sancho Brachalo, a 29-year-old YouTube celebrity chef and the son of two popular Spanish actors, was the one standing before them. Daniel had arrived on the island a few days earlier on July 31st, 2023 for the full moon party. He said he last saw his friend Edwin on the evening of August 3rd. From this account, police were treating Edwin's disappearance as a separate missing persons incident. The body parts they discovered yesterday were on the morning of August 3rd, whereas Daniel reports said he last saw his friend that evening. With thousands of tourists entering the small island each day, it was very possible these were two unrelated or independent incidents, and they had to treat each case separately. Police asked Daniel to trace back his events on the island, which he gladly recounted. Upon arrival on June 31st, he rented a motorcycle and made his way to Premeditated Hotel, where Edwin had rented a room for them under his own credit card. 2 days later, on August 2nd, Edwin arrived, and Daniel picked him up around 3 p.m. and took him to the hotel. That evening, they went to the beach together, but Daniel lost sight of Edwin and hadn't seen him since. Daniel explained that he was reporting Edwin's disappearance as he was unable to establish communications with him, despite leaving messages and a voicemail, and due to Edwin's sister reaching out to him to report this to the police, which we will examine in more detail in a moment. During questioning, the police noticed suspicious scratch marks on Daniel's arms and found it strange that it took him so long to report his friend missing. Following his version of events, they reviewed CCTV footage along his route. Daniel did arrive on July 31st, rented a motorcycle, and checked into the Koh Phangan hotel. The rental and hotel were paid for using Edwin's credit card. Now, recall that receipt found at the dump with the bloodied clothes mentioned previously? These were coincidentally discovered on the same day Daniel walked in to make a missing persons report. Well, the detectives found something very interesting when examining the CCTV footage at the Big C supermarket from when the purchases were made. On August 1st, 2023, the day before Edwin arrived, Daniel was seen buying bleach, cleaning agents, cutting tools, and garbage bags. They didn't disclose this information to Daniel right away, as they wanted to establish his version of events and keep this ace up their sleeves for later. Then on August 2nd, CCTV shows Edwin waiting for Daniel. Daniel picks him up from the pier, and with Edwin sitting behind him, Daniel is seen riding the motorbike, presumably to the hotel. But instead of taking Edwin back to his hotel, Daniel seemed to be heading in a different direction, towards a different villa, 28 kilometers away from where Edwin was supposed to be checked in, called the Hat Salad Resort. The clothes Edwin was seen wearing as he sat behind Daniel on the motorcycle were the same ones found on August 4th at the garbage dump. Another link suggesting Daniel knew more than what he was letting on. Edwin was never seen alive again. Edwin Arrieta was a successful Colombian plastic surgeon. According to his friends, his career was incredibly important to him, and he frequently traveled to places like London and Buenos Aires. He loved horse riding and a variety of sports. Recently, he had shown an interest in moving to Spain, which we will explore in a moment. Edwin was a devoted son and brother and took pride in taking care of his parents and sister. In fact, it was his sister, Darling Arrieta, who first raised the alarm when Edwin stopped responding to her messages on August 2nd. Worried, she started calling some of his close friends and learned about his relationship with Daniel. She eventually obtained Daniel's Instagram handle and began messaging him right away. Here are some of the messages exchanged between Darling and Daniel once she got a hold of his Instagram account around August 4th. From these messages, you can see she's extremely worried about her brother and wants to know what's happening. She asks Daniel, but is so surprised when he tells her that he lost touch with him. She doesn't believe they were on a beach together, but he left her brother alone. Daniel tells her that they took some mushrooms, but he was out of it, that Edwin thought there was something wrong with him and that's why he didn't answer him. She finds this incredible and implores him to call the police. Daniel agrees, offering his WhatsApp number to her, and then tells her he's going to take a shower before going to talk to the police. That day, Daniel went to report Edwin missing. However, due to his questionable account of events, what detectives found on the CCTV footage, and the bloodied clothes matching Edwin's, and the numerous scratches and wounds on Daniel's arms, the police arrested him after his account. There is speculation that he may also have been tipped off due to Edwin's sister, but we'll get to that later. On August 5th, the police, along with the forensic team, went to the villa Daniel had rented. At the villa, they found numerous areas that had been thoroughly cleaned with bleach. Forensics officials collected hair, water samples, grease stains, and fragments. In the bathroom, they also found traces of blood. In the pipes, they discovered hair and human tissue. These samples were sent off for expedited testing at Yala province. Preliminary results expected the next day on August 6th. They also found $80,000 in cash and a gold chain. When questioned, Daniel was angry and claimed he was innocent. insisting they had the wrong person and that the police should be out there trying to find his friend. However, that night, DNA tests from the dump site confirmed that the remains belonged to Edwin. The next day, tests from Daniel's rental villa also confirmed the presence of Edwin's DNA. Police knew they had their culprit. Detectives confronted Daniel with the evidence linking the remains found at the dump and at his villa to Edwin, reminding him of the severe penalties for lying to law enforcement. Daniel caved and admitted he did it, but claimed it was an accident. Daniel said he brought Edwin to the villa to talk to him in person and break off their relationship. He claimed he had tried before, but Edwin just wouldn't listen. He figured if he spoke to him face to face, Edwin would understand. However, Edwin wasn't interested in talking. Instead, he wanted to initiate sex with Daniel. Feeling threatened and fearing that he was about to be violated against his will, Daniel pushed him away. This infuriated Edwin, who had come all the way and was paying for all these expenses. The shoving escalated into a full-blown fight, resulting in scratches on Daniel's arms. In the struggle, Daniel punched Edwin in the face, causing him to fall and lose consciousness. Panicking, Daniel dragged Edwin to the bathroom, splashing water on his face, but he wouldn't wake up. In shock, Daniel waited for an hour before finally panicking and deciding to cut Edwin into pieces. It took him nearly 3 hours to complete the dismemberment, resulting in around 14 body pieces. Daniel then removed the pelvis, penis, 2 legs, and intestines and separated these from the remaining parts. That night, he attempted to rent a kayak to dispose of the remaining parts in the sea. However, the kayak vendor wouldn't rent to him so late at night. So Daniel, frustrated and angry, bought the kayak for $1,000. He then paddled out several times to dump the body parts in the middle of the sea. At 10 p.m. that night, he disposed of the head. At 2 a.m. on August 3rd, he went to the dumping ground and left the remains that were discovered at the start of this episode. At 6 a.m. that morning, he made a second trip to dump more parts in the sea. Interestingly, around the same time he was kayaking, workers discovered the body parts he had dumped earlier that night. That very day, he went to the full moon beach party and had a good time. Finally, he made another trip at 11 p.m. that night on his kayak to dump the remaining parts. Detectives believed his version of events for disposing of Edwin's body parts, but did not believe Daniel's story account of what happened at the villa was simply an accident. Perhaps by being honest about the disposing of the body, Daniel believed the rest of his story would seem credible. But detectives saw through his lies. Little did he know they had discovered him on CCTV making purchases for the items used to dismember and dispose of Edwin's body well before they had the supposed fight. Also, the way Daniel rented a separate hotel far away on the other side of the island that he did not disclose to the police took Edwin there immediately after he arrived and dismembered and dumped him within hours using the tools he had purchased a day earlier, painted a clear picture of premeditated murder. In fact, there was overwhelming evidence now to suggest this entire trip was planned for one reason: to lure and murder Edwin Arrieta. For reasons only truly known to him, Daniel planned to lure Edwin, kill and dismember him, and leave the country before anyone was the wiser. The police have their own version of events of what transpired in the villa on August 2nd. After luring Edwin to Koh Phangan under the guise of another vacation hookup, Daniel picked Edwin up as planned, but purposely took him to a different villa than the one he had booked for his alibi for the police. There, an unsuspecting and wary from his travels Edwin was struck on the head with a blunt object, but surprisingly, this didn't incapacitate him right away. To Daniel's surprise, Edwin fought back, bravely putting up a fight against the man who had lured him with his pre-planned ill intent. The ensuing fight for his life left bruises and scratches on Daniel that were seen by the police later. Then, as planned, Daniel dragged Edwin's deceased or unconscious body to the bathroom, a location chosen for its tiled surfaces and ease of cleaning. He then methodically dismembered Edwin, using the cutting tools he had purchased the day before. He turned the bathroom into a makeshift slaughterhouse and did his best to minimize the mess and contain the blood. After dismembering Edwin into 14 pieces, Daniel placed the remains in garbage bags. He cleaned up the scene using the cleaning aids and solutions also purchased the day earlier. He wanted to dump all the remains at sea that night, but underestimate the availability of the kayak and how challenging it would be to dismember the torso and legs. He therefore improvised by buying the kayak and dumping the large parts directly at the Koh Phangan Waste Disposal Center and assumed no one would bother searching through heaps of garbage at a landfill. Unbeknownst to him, garbage collectors always shift through rubble, and this grim discovery was made just hours after he had left it there. Daniel's trips to the sea were also methodical. He paddled out under the cover of darkness, early morning or late night, and far enough at sea to ensure the remains would be scattered and difficult to retrieve. He would then stay the night at the villa he did not dismember Edwin at, and in case police suspected anything, there was no way to find foul play at his location. After checking out at the villa that he dismembered Edwin at 9 a.m. on August 3rd, he attended the full moon party to celebrate the relief of getting rid of a problem in his life, and then a final trip again at 11 p.m. to dispose of the remaining parts, after which he believed he had covered all his tracks. However, like most criminals who believe they have outsmarted everyone, reality said otherwise. CCTV footage played a key role in solving the crime by establishing his intent before Edwin even stepped foot on the island. The disposal and the clothes Edwin were seen wearing when sitting behind Daniel on the motorbike established clear sequence of events of what transpired. Despite his claims of innocence, the detectives knew they had caught a cold and calculated killer. But then, why would Daniel report Edwin's disappearance to the police instead of leaving the island quietly? It turns out, Edwin was incredibly close to his sister, and they messaged each other several times a day. Darling Arietta would later give a heart-wrenching interview on Colombian TV, revealing that she had suspected Daniel from the very first moment. She didn't know Daniel personally, so she had to contact him through Instagram, a connection she obtained from Edwin's friends. Darling recalls telling Edwin's friends when he stopped responding on August 2nd, quote, "We are worried, we have no information." That's when she discovered that the Spanish chef was also in Thailand with her brother. She asked him directly, quote, "What do you know about my brother?" His response was chilling. "I lost track of him on the beach." Darling's alarm bells went off immediately. Good God, how can he be a friend and not know where he is, she thought. This made her suspect Daniel from the beginning. Desperate for answers, Darling urged him to, quote, "run to the police station to report Edwin missing." But she didn't stop there. "I contacted the consul of Colombia. I told her not to let this man leave Thailand because I suspected him," she explained. The consul then alerted Thai authorities to be on the lookout for Daniel, which explains why the police were so suspicious when he came to report Edwin missing. Unfortunately, the next call Darling received was one she was not prepared for. She recalls the moment, quote, "The consul told me they had found a body. I asked, 'Is it my brother?' They remained silent, and at that moment, I knew it was my brother." Her voice broke, and she couldn't hold back her tears. It was Darling's unrelenting perseverance and quick thinking that pressured Daniel into filing the missing persons report. The tip-off from the Colombian consulate to the Thai authorities ensured Daniel was kept under scrutiny, giving the police the time they needed to collect more evidence. The DNA results that came back on August 6th confirmed that the bloody body parts and fluids in Daniel's rented villa were indeed Edwin's. But the burning question still remains. Why did Daniel do it? Daniel and Edwin's story began about a year ago. Edwin reached out to Daniel through Instagram, and they began exchanging messages and phone calls. These interactions became increasingly flirtatious over time, escalating to intimate images, sexual encounters, and dates in Spain. The relationship went beyond the physical and emotional. Edwin even invested 10,000 euros as they intended to start a restaurant business in Spain together. He also allowed Daniel to use his credit card for purchases. However, the relationship was complicated. Daniel had a girlfriend, Laura, whom he had been with for the last 5 years. They were planning a wedding in both Spain and Thailand. Furthermore, despite their various sexual encounters, Daniel did not see himself as a homosexual and wanted to end his relationship with Edwin. But this did not sit well with Edwin, who had invested his time, money, and soul in this newfound friendship with his sugar baby, more than a decade younger than himself. According to Daniel, Edwin couldn't let go and threatened to publish their intimate photos and videos, thus ruining his and his family's reputation. I must note that despite Daniel coming from a family of famous people, leaking these details would undoubtedly also hurt Edwin's reputation as a plastic surgeon. Furthermore, there was no evidence to suggest that Edwin was threatening to make such a move. In a shocking reveal, a friend of Edwin claimed in an interview that Edwin had lent Daniel 900 million pesos, equivalent to 216,000 euros, to open a restaurant in Spain. The restaurant was meant for them, and they would be equal partners in its success. In fact, just a few weeks before the crime, Daniel's father had mentioned how proud he was of his son for opening and running 2 restaurants in Spain. Now we know, at least partially, where this success came from. It seems the strongest motive for ending Edwin's life was for Daniel to pocket the money and future profits of this restaurant and get rid of a problem in his life that would have otherwise tarnished his and his family's reputation if word got out of his secret sugar daddy. Furthermore, Daniel's behavior displayed no hint of remorse. The day after dismembering Edwin and before his last kayaking trip to dispose of the remains, he attended a full moon beach party on August 3rd. What person attends a party if they are mourning the accidental loss of their dear friend? In an interview with the Spanish press, Daniel said this about Edwin, quote, "I'm guilty, but I was Edwin's hostage. He held me hostage. It was a glass cage, but it was a cage. He made me destroy the relationship with my girlfriend, forced me to do things I would have never done. He was obsessed with me. He deceived me, made me believe that he wanted to do business with me, to put money into the company of which I am a partner, that we would do things together. But it was all a lie. All he wanted was me, for me to be his boyfriend." On August 6, 2023, Daniel was surrounded by police officers and toured around the island of Koh Phangan to reconstruct the murder of his 44-year-old Colombian lover, Surgeon Edwin Arrieta Arteaga. On Monday, August 7th, the judge of the island's provincial court sentenced him to provisional detention until his trial. Prosecutors were seeking the death penalty against Daniel Sancho, but in August 2020, the King of Thailand commuted the death sentence to life imprisonment for a different case where a Spaniard was also involved, paving the way for extradition. It's expected the same would happen to Daniel, despite the sentence being handed down by the courts. Is it fair for foreign nationals to commit crimes in other countries, but spared the sentence in those countries? Let me know in the comments. In April 2024, the charges were laid against Daniel Sancho. The charges included premeditated murder, concealment of a body, and destruction of other people's documents. Sancho pleaded not guilty to premeditated murder and destruction of documents, but pleaded guilty to hiding the victim's body. Edwin's families do not want the death penalty for Daniel, but believe he should be punished with another punishment suiting the gravity of his crime. Daniel's sentencing is pending, and his trial is ongoing. However, I will share an update in our Crimes Anatomy community post, so be sure to never miss an update by hitting that subscribe button and clicking on that notification bell. This is Victor. Thanks for watching.